So, what's up, guys? So, good afternoon to you all, or good night, or good morning. Depende siguro kung anong oras nyo to napagtripan panoorin. So, before we start, i-assume ko na napanood nyo yung report ni Ma'am Bianca. So, of course, this is a continuation. Of course, you need to watch and understand the previous report before this para, of course, makasabay sa flow, maintindihan, makasunod kung ano nga ba talaga yung nangyayari. So, hindi pwedeng mag-jump ka agad into the another report before watching the previous report. So, anyways, let us proceed to the following topics. So, we are currently chapter 5, the aerobic respiration in the mitochondrion. So, from the previous discussion before, we understand, excuse me, some important concepts such as the structure, the function of the mitochondria, the ano pa ba? The establishment of protein motive force, and many more. So now let us proceed to the main topics. Anyways, I'm Agent Louis B. Ferrer and I will be your presenter for this video report and for the following topics of the chapter 5. So, ito ang ating learning outcomes as you can see from the PPT. Ayan, pakibasa na lang to. Yeah, you can pause it and read the context of it. Contents of it. Anyways, before proceeding pala to the main topic, let's have a quick energizer. So, saglit lang naman to, no? So, ayun, no? Sasagutin nyo lang yung mga riddles na inilagay ko sa mga susunod na slides. Ganun lang kadali. Tapos, add lang tayo ng BGM para smooth. Okay, so thank you for participating kung nag-participate ka man. Pero kung hindi, okay lang naman. Sana na-energize ka. So, without further ado, let's proceed to our discussion. So, the first topic that we are going to talk about is the structure of ATP synthase. So, bago tayong proceed, let us try to answer this question. What is the function of the electron transport chain? So, kung nakinig kayo or napanood nyo na yung previous report ni Ms. Bianca, maintindihan mo kung ano ba tong electron transport chain because it was mentioned. Pero hindi naman ako sure kung na-mention siya. But anyways, it is included in the chapter 5, chapter 5.2 aerobic metabolism in the mitochondrion. So, if I'm not mistaken, page 177 yun. Now, the complex 1 all the way to the complex 4. So, let's answer. So, sagutan na natin to. The complex 1 all the way to the complex 4. These complexes of electron transport chain function to allow the movement of electrons across the inner membrane of the mitochondria that ultimately allows us to establish a proton electrochemical gradient along the inner membrane of the mitochondria. Well, this is previously discussed. Hindi nga ako sure, pero I hope I'm not mistaken. So, I hope you understand that particular part and you remember that particular part from the previous discussion. Now, following the establishment of this proton gradient. So, remember the proton gradient which was established by the complexes 1 to 4. Now, bakit nga ba natin ito kailangan maalala? Ba't ba natin ito kailangan maintindihan? Simply because this proton electrochemical gradient na-establish ng complex 1 to 4 will be then used by the complex number 5 or the ATP synthase to actually synthesize and release ATP molecule into the matrix of the mitochondria. So, ulitin natin, no? Basically, yung sa previous report, na-mention doon yung complex 1 to 4. So, sila yung pinakadahilan kung bakit nakapag-establish or nakagawa ng proton electrochemical gradient. Now, yung complex 5 or yung ATP synthase, ginagamit niya itong na-produce, na-establish na proton electrochemical gradient in order to actually synthesize and release ATP or adenosine triphosphate, which has the function of, which is the energy used by our cells. So, where is this ATP synthase located? ATP synthase is located or found in the inner membrane of the mitochondria. So, may makikita kayo ditong araw, no? Puti yata yung kulay nito. So, hindi yun. Bibilugan ko na lang dyan. So, sorry kasi wala akong makita eh. Hehehe. Ano pala yun? So, by the way, what do you think is the ATP synthase? Do you think it's an organ? It's an organelle? It's a cell or what? So, I give you some time to think. So, yun. If you say enzyme, very good. Pero pag hindi, very good pa rin naman. At least you've tried. So, if you remember, di ba pag parang nasabi yata sa atin dati, pag nag-end sa ASE or ACE, it's enzyme. So, ATP synthase, ASE, ATP synthase is an enzyme. So, now let us proceed to the ATP synthase structure. Now, ATP synthase is like divided into two regions. The F0 region and the F1 region. So, if you remember, ano tong blue-green na to? So, naalala nyo, it is the inner membrane of the mitochondria. Anyways, let us proceed to the F1 region. First, let's break down the F1 region. It consists of those polypeptide chains. The beta, the alpha, yung makikita nyo mamaya. And later on, we will explain them in detail. So, those alpha, beta, etc., yung mga tinuturo-turo dyan sa taas, yan yung responsible for binding the ATP molecules and orthophosphate to form those ATP and releasing it into the matrix of the mitochondria. So, pag nag-bind yung ADP and orthophosphate, ma-form yung ATP. Now, yung responsible sa pagbabind nila yun, sa pagkakatalyze ng reaction na yun, is the ATP synthase. Yung mga, tama, yung ATP synthase, or specifically the units in the F1 region. The F1 region is the catalytic unit of this complex. When we say catalytic, parang it means causing. Ganun. So, what does it cause? Kakasabi ko lang din, it causes the binding of ADP molecules to orthophosphate to form ATP. The F1 region lies in the matrix of the mitochondria. So, yung open space, yun yung matrix ng mitochondria. So, later on, mas maintindihan natin kung bakit nga ba nandun siya sa matrix na yun. So, if you remembered, as I have stated earlier, balikan natin, no? So, the ATP synthase synthesize ATP. Ngayon, ATP synthase is divided into two regions. We have the main region, which is responsible for the catalyzation of the ATP molecule. Yun yung F1 region. So now let us talk about the polypeptide chains within the F1 region. There are actually 5 different polypeptide chains na in the F1 region, or 5 different polypeptide chains na bumubuo sa F1 region. We have the alpha shown in orange shade, the beta shown in red, the gamma shown in yellow, the epsilon shown in peach color, and the delta shown in maroon color. Now, each of these polypeptide chain has their unique functions, and we will discuss those functions later as we go along this report. So, baka may mga naliligaw na konti, so let's try to break it down or ulitin ko ano ba yung mga pinagsasabi ko. So, again, we are in the mitochondrion, di ba? So, inside the mitochondrion, we have the ATP synthase. Now, this ATP synthase, it synthesizes and releases ATP molecules, which is the energy used by our cells. The ATP synthase is divided into two regions. We have the F0 region and the F1 region. Now, we're talking about the F1 region. So, kanina sinabi ko yung different parts na bumubuo dito sa F1 region na to, which is the alpha, beta, gamma, epsilon, and ano po ba? Yun, nakalimutan ko yung, ay delta yun, delta yung isa. So, ayun. So, as we go along naman, mas mapapadali yung flow kasi maiintindihan natin kung ano-ano ba yung function ng different units na to. Kung ano ba yung function ng alpha, ano ba yung function ng beta, no? So, ayun, kung sakali naliligaw naman, you can chat me or gano'n, mag-send ka ng message, tanungin mo na lang din ako. Kasi hindi ko ma-entertain right now yung mga tanong since this is a video report. Okay, so anyways, let us proceed. First, let's talk about the alpha units, which is shown in orange, and the beta units which is shown in red. There are 3 individual alpha units and 3 individual beta units, so basically 6 yun. These units creates the hexameric ring alpha 3 and beta 3. Think about it like a flower. Actually, we can use this as a representation. Wait. Ito. So, isipin mo, ito yung this is the hexameric ring na nabuo from alpha units and beta units. So, for example, this particular this thing is the alpha unit and this is the beta unit. Sa susunod doon is alpha ulit and then susunod naman is beta unit. So, altogether, they form this hexameric ring. So, paikot na ring na ganun. By, na-form yung hexameric ring na yun by the 3 beta and the 3 alpha sa units. So, dito ipapakita naman akong pictures para maintindihan natin. So, try natin ulitin, no? So, the F1 region is, it is composed of alpha and beta units. Yung alpha and beta units na to, let's compare it again here. So, in top view, kasi pag tinignan mo siya, para siyang, ayan, nakaganyan siya. Tama ba? Oo, parang ganyan. Pag kasi tingnan mo dito sa picture na to, para siyang mushroom, di ba? So, pag tinignan mo siya sa taas, ang itsura niya is parang ganito. Pero 6, 5 lang kasi ito eh. So, di ba nga compose siya ng alpha and beta. So, this is alpha, nari ganun, tapos this is beta, then next is alpha again, and then next is beta. So on and so forth. So, kumbaga 6 na parts yun. So, alpha, beta, alpha, beta, alpha, beta. Ganon, tig-tatlo. So, altogether, these 6 units, the 3 alpha units and the 3 beta units, they form this hexameric ring structure. Yung parang, if you can see sa picture, yung parang, yung pinaka-top, para siyang mushroom, ganon. So, ayun, yun yung na-form nung 3 alpha units and 3 beta units. Ngayon, naintindihan natin kung ano yun, no? So, it's yung 3 alpha units tsaka 3 beta units, they form this hexameric ring structure. Now, the question is, what do you think is the function of this hexameric ring structure? So, letter A, it binds the ATP orthophosphate molecule to synthesize the ATP molecules and releases it to the matrix of mitochondria. Or letter B, it allows the movement of protons, the hydrogen ions, down their electrochemical gradient to down their electrochemical gradient. So if your answer is B, then unfortunately you are wrong. So the right answer is A. It binds the ADP to orthophosphate to form and release ATP molecules. So yun yung pinaka-function ng hexameric ring, no? So alalahanin natin, it binds the ADP to orthophosphate to form and release ATP. Once again, the hexameric ring structure that was formed by alpha and beta units. Its function is to bind the ADP and orthophosphate to form and release ATP molecules. So remember again, no, the ATP synthesizes and releases ATP. Now, the ATP synthase, may dalawa siyang region, F1 and F0. Ngayon, yung F1 region, compose siya ng hexameric ring structure. Yung sinasabi kong electric pan kanina, which is binubuo naman ng 3 alpha and 3 beta units. Ngayon, ang function nito, itong hexameric ring na to, ng 3 alpha na to, at 3 beta units, it is responsible for binding of the ADP to orthophosphate to form and release ATP molecules. So, yun, sana naintindihan na rin naman yon. Medyo madali lang naman sigurong sundan. So, I hope pala ako. So, however, even though the alpha units can in fact bind the ATP molecules, only the beta units have the capacity to actually release and synthesize the ATP. So, yun lang, nandun lang yung alpha units. However, ang pinaka-ano lang niya, kaya niyang mag-bind. Kaya niyang iban yung ATP, pero hindi siya actually kasali sa process. So, parang wala lang siyang ginagawa, no? Yung majority ng work is na kay beta units. So, beta units are actually responsible for the synthesis and releasing of ATP molecules into the matrix. Later babalikan din natin to, no? Tapos maintindihan natin how this beta unit actually synthesize and release ATP molecules. So now let us talk about another unit or another polypeptide in the F1 region, the gamma unit, shown in yellow, and the epsilon unit, shown in peach. There is only one gamma unit and one epsilon unit, and together they combine to form the central stalk. So, yung mga polypeptide dito, basically, parang may fino-form sila, no? So, they combine together in order to form a specific structure in the F1 region. So, ayun nga yung alpha units, 3 alpha units and 3 beta units, they form the hexameric ring, while the gamma and the epsilon, they combine to form the central stalk. So, this central stalk runs through the inner cavity of the hexameric ring. Again, yung hexameric ring, kinocompose ng 3 beta at 3 alpha. So, para maalala natin, kailangan natin pa ulit-ulitin. So, if naalala nyo rin yung electric pan na ginamit ko. So, that's the hexameric ring. Now, this central stalk, let's use the electric pan again as the analogy. So, this central stalk, parang ito yun, itong pinaka, nyo na yan, pinaka body, or kumbaga sa flower yung stem niya. So, the gamma stalk again is composed of what? Single unit of gamma and epsilon. So, yun nga, para siyang stem ng flower, o kaya naman yung pinakita ko na yun, yung parang yun nga, basta parang stem. So, it runs to the hexameric ring. So, from yung stalk na yun, kunwari, ito yung hexameric ring, pasok yung stalk dun. In addition to that, so it actually connects the F1 region to the F0 region. You can see here in this slide na parang, ito yung parang white thread something dito sa taas sa slide. Yun yung central stalk. And as you can see, it runs through the F0 to the F1 region. And it goes to the hexameric ring. So, parang pinagko-connect niya yung region and as well as the hexameric ring. So, may function din, may dahilan din kung bakit ba nag-grant siya to that, bakit kasama pa rin siya sa hexameric ring, ganun. Pero ano pa yan, madidiscuss pa later on. So now, let us talk about the function of the gamma epsilon central stalk. Well, basically, it connects the searing structure to the hexameric ring. Excuse. Ito yung searing structure sa baba na to. And the rotation of, yes, umiikot to, no? So, the rotation of this searing structure actually causes the catalysis of ADP and orthophosphate to release and to synthesize ATP molecule. So, pag umikot tong searing, iikot yung searing na to ay nasa baba. Kulay green yata, I guess. So, iikot din yung central stalk kasi nga connected siya dito. Ngayon, tawag doon, itong searing structure. So, ngayon, pag umikot tong central stalk, may epekto rin siya, of course, sa hexameric ring dahil nga connected siya dito. However, hindi naman iikot yung hexameric ring. Now, this rotation, yung pag-ikot ng central stalk, it actually causes the synthesis of ATP molecule, which we'll talk about later in this discussion. So, pag umikot yung yung central stalk. So, pag umikot to, nariyan yun. Umikot siyang ganyan. It causes the synthesis of the ATP. So, to be honest, parang siyang gears, yung mga sa machineries or something like that, parang ganun. Pag umikot yung isa, iikot din yung isa because they are all interconnected. So, ayun, something like that. Ngayon, baka naguguluhan kayo kasi kanina sinasabi ko, yung hexameric ring, siya yung nagsisynthesis. Bakit ngayon, bakit involved na tong si searing, bakit mayroon na ring papel si gamma epsilon central stalk. So, ang tatandaan lang natin dito, totoong ang nagsisynthesize is the hexameric ring, the B units, and the B units. Pero yung nagkukos kung bakit nag-uumpisa tong synthesis na to, yung catalyzing ng ATP molecule na to, ay yung central stalk and as well as yung searing. Sila yung pinakadahilan kung bakit nag-uumpisa yung proseso ng pagsisynthesize ng ATP. Pero yung nagsisynthesize pa rin naman, specifically, ay si hexameric ring structure or the B units. So, ayun. So, I hope na naintindihan niyo yun. Malinaw ba? Kung hindi naman, yun nga sabi ko, you're free to send a private message para ma-explain ko na mabuti kasi nga hindi ako makakapag-entertain ng questions while pagka-video report, of course, that's given. So, before we proceed, let's have a quick recall lang para maintindihan natin lahat. So, the gamma epsilon, the central stalk, uniform na structure with the combination of gamma and the epsilon, they interact with the hexameric ring. Connected sila, di ba? If you remember. Now, the central stalk rotates because of what? Because of what? Because of the searing structure. So, the ATP is synthesized and released afterwards. So, after umikot, nasi-synthesize and nare-release yung ATP. So, for now, let us proceed to the next polypeptide. Now, the question is, based on the structure of this delta chain, itong itsura na to, itong ini-insert in circle na yan dito, what do you think is its function? Di ba nga hexameric ring, ang function niya is it synthesize ATP, it synthesize and release ATP. Yung gamma epsilon naman, gamma epsilon central stalk, yung rotation niya is nagkakos ng pagsisynthesize ng ATP. Now, this delta chain, anong tingin yung function? So, yung delta chain is this maroon. So, base lang dito, ano sa tingin nyo yung function niya? Kung ako tatanungin, para siyang para niyang hino-hold yung structure. Siguro para hindi siya mag-rotate. Well, let's see. Actually, this delta chain holds the entire hexameric ring structure. Yung hexameric ring structure, again, is the alpha units and the beta units. So, it doesn't rotate. So, hino-hold ng delta chain, again, yung hexameric ring structure, so it doesn't rotate. O, di ba? Tama ako. So, hino-hold niya para hindi umikot kasabay nung central stalk and searing. hinahold niya yung hexameric ring structure kasi nga, di ba, umiikot yung si ring, o tapos umiikot na yung central stock. O para hindi umiikot yung hexameric ring structure, hinahold niya to. So, meron siyang so para, ayun, basically, hindi sumabay yung hexameric ring structure sa pag-ikot ng C-ring and gamma epsilon central stock. So, parang meron pa siyang stopper, no? So, astig. So, this chain also connects the hexameric ring structure to the F-NOT region. So, makikita nyo naman dyan yung kulay maroon na to. It is connected to some polypeptides, tapos they connect directly into the F-NOT region sa baba. So, ayun. I hope nakakasabay pa. As you can see, medyo maraming parts yung F1 region. So, let's have a quick review. We have the alpha and the beta, which are responsible for synthesis and release of ATP molecules. Even though the alpha units, hindi siya masyado nagpe-play ng role. Beta lang talaga yung maraming work dun sa synthesis of ATP molecules. Although, the alpha can, in fact, bind the ATP molecule. So, we also have the gamma epsilon, which forms the central stock. And the central stock, it is connected to the hexameric ring and as well as the C-ring structure. So, the rotation of these two, alin yung nagro-rotate? The hexameric ring and the central stock. Ay, hindi pala hexameric. The C-ring pala ang nagro-rotate. The C-ring and the central stock, yung pagro-rotate nila, it causes the synthesis and the release of ATP. Pero ang gumagawa talaga ng synthesis and ang nagre-release talaga is the hexameric ring. Ang nagko-cause again is the C-ring and the central stock. And lastly, the delta chain, basically, yun yung pinakatrabaho niya, it holds the hexameric ring structure so it will not rotate along with the central stock and the C-ring structure. So, now let us proceed to the F-NOT region, sa kabilang region naman sa baba ng F1. So, kung naalala nyo, yung F1, it contains the catalytic structure, which is the hexameric ring structure. Now, the F1 contains the structure that allows the movement of the protons, the hydrogen ions, down their electrochemical gradient. So, what this mean? So, for now, hindi ko pa siya alam kasi baka mamaya pa maintindihan yan. Alam ko naman na sa future discussion, we will learn kung ano nga ba yung pinaka-function nitong F-NOT region. Now, let us first talk about the F-NOT region. The F-NOT region is mostly hydrophobic. What do we mean when we say hydrophobic? When we say hydrophobic, it means water-fearing. Nakakita mo naman dito sa PPT, yung may bracket na yan, yan yung F-NOT region. Tapos, in addition to that, the F-NOT region lies within the inner membrane of the mitochondria. If you remember, the F1 region is nasa matrix. Ngayon, yung F-NOT region nasa inner membrane ng mitochondria. So, yun nga, yung isa din yung naka-bracket dito, makikita nyo kung alin ba yung F1 dito and alin ba yung F-NOT. So, now, the F-NOT region consists of only two types of units, which is the A unit, A subunit, and C unit. Okay, so let's talk about the A subunits. First, it lies on the outer portion of the C-ring. As you can see here from the PPT, the picture, makikita mo na itong purple thing na to is nasa labas siya. Ay, nakadikit lang siya sa C-ring, which is the green, the C-ring structure, yung kulay green na to. Second, may role rin sa pag-move ng proton across sa inner membrane ng mitochondria ang A subunit. So, ayan, yung dalawang ano sa kanya. Nasa outside siya, nakadikit, and may role siya sa pag-move ng proton across sa inner membrane ng mitochondria. Now, pangatlo niyang function, it connects the C-ring sa F1 region. So, di ba na-connect siya sa C-ring, the purple thing na-connect siya sa green thing, parang nakaganon siya. Tapos, merong nakaganon na something. Yun yung nagko-connect sa F1 region, tsaka sa C-ring. So, you can see here again na merong connection siya from this region to F1 region. Ngayon, dalawa na yung natin, yung connecting units. We have the central stalk and this structure na pinakompose ng A subunits ng F0 region. So, yung arm-like structure, makikita nyo sa taas, it is composed of single A subunit, 2B structure, and the single delta. Together, they hold the two regions. They, parang sila yung pinaka-nag-hold nitong dalawang region na to, the F0 region and F1 region, and in general, the ATP synthase. Now, let's talk about the rotating and stationary region. So, if naalala nyo, di ba, meron sa ATP synthase, meron siyang polypeptides, may structure sa ATP synthase which rotates, and yung iba naman hindi. Nakahinto lang, hindi siya nagro-rotate. Ano yun kung naalala nyo? We have the, sa mga nakaano muna tayo, let's talk about the rotating region. Sa rotating region, one is the C-ring. Naalala nyo yung kulay green na punong-puno ng C na gano'n na paikot. Sa F0 region yon, that's a rotating region. And yung nakadugtong sa kanya, which is part naman ng F1 region, which is the central stalk, composed of gamma and epsilon unit. So together, those two are the only rotating regions, the only structure na umiikot sa ATP synthase. Ngayon, of course, lahat ng naiwan, lahat ng structure or the units na hindi na natin nabanggit, those are the stationary regions. The stationary regions compose ng A units, 2B units, the delta units, and as well as the alpha and beta units, which together, naalala nyo ba, it forms what? The hexameric ring structure. So, kanina sinabi ko naman na hindi umiikot yung hexameric ring structure because may nag-hold sa kanya, which is the other stationary units are the AB and delta units, which has the function of holding the hexameric ring to prevent it from moving. So, hindi rin siya gumagalaw. Again, ang rotating region is the central stalk and the C-ring, tas the rest hindi na umiikot. So, you can see here in this video how ATP synthase rotates. And makikita nyo dyan, ang ganda ng pagkaka-animate dyan, ang galing. So, dyan ko naintindihan. Tapos makikita nyo para siyang gear talaga. Umiikot lang yung baba niya, tapos yung taas. Naka-stationary, nakahinto lang. So, ang galing nito. So, ang complex niya. Complex? So, ang complex niya, tapos ang ganda tingnan. So, hindi ko alam, hindi ako aware until na pinanood ko tong video na to na meron palang ganito ka-complex na enzyme sa loob ng katawan ko. So yung umiikot here is the C-ring, ayun yung nasa baba. Of course, yung nasa taas, that's the stationary region, which is nakikita nyo yung stationary region natin ngayon. Di ba sinabi ko, nakalay siya sa matrix sa mitochondria. Makikita nyo, yung matrix pala na to, it's an open space. So, ayun yung stationary region, the hexameric ring structure, the delta chain, etc. Ayun yung hindi gumagalaw. Now, that is, so yun na yun sa function and structure ng ATP synthase. So, ayun nga, tulad ng sabi ko, let's proceed to another topic. Now that we know and we understand the structure and function of ATP synthase, let's talk about how the ATP synthase actually carries out its function. So basically, pag-uusapan natin kung paano nga ba nagagawa ng ATP synthase yung ATP, kung paano ba ito napoproduce, kung paano ba ito nasi-synthesize, kung paano ba ito na-establish, and many, many more. So without further ado, let's start the discussion on the next topic, which is dividing change mechanism of ATP formation. But first, let's do a quick recall. So, remember that ATP synthase uses that proton motive force, that proton electrochemical gradient that was established by the complexes 1 to 4 to actually generate ATP. Naintindihan naman natin yun, right? So, the ATP synthase uses the electrochemical gradient na ginawa ng complexes 1 to 4 to produce what? To produce ATP. So now, how does ATP synthase actually carry out its function? First, let's remember the two regions of the ATP synthase. This is very important. The F0 region and the F1 region. But for this particular topic, this particular discussion now, we will focus on the F1 region. So the F1 region contains the catalytic structure which catalyze ATP, right? So kung maalala nyo rin, yung structure na yun ay yung hexameric ring. So, or kung specific naman, yung beta units. The F1 region contains the catalytic structure. So, the F1 region contains the catalytic structure which catalyzes what? Right, the ATP. Kung maalala nyo rin, yung structure na yon ay yung nagsisynthesize ng ATP na yun yung hexameric ring. Or kung specific naman, the beta units. Kasi nga, di ba, alpha units, wala siya masyadong ginagawa. Now, the F0 region, on the other hand, it contains the structure that rotates, which is the C ring. Now, let's move on to the, let's talk about the steps of ATP formation. So now let's talk about the steps of ATP formation. In the first step, the hexameric ring binds with the reactant, which is the ATP molecules, to inorganic orthophosphate molecules. Again, yung hexameric ring, binabind niya yung ADP molecules to orthophosphate molecules. So if you remember, yung kanina din pa ulit-ulit na sinasabi, if the ADP molecules bind with the orthophosphate molecules, it forms ATP. Now, in the second step, they catalyze their combination to form what? To form ATP. Yan yung sinasabi ko, second step pala siya. Remember, ATP synthase is an enzyme and an enzyme catalyzed reaction. So, yun yan, nakakatalyze yung ATP by binding the, kinakatalyze ng ATP synthase yung reaction ng ADP and the orthophosphate. Now, in the third step, the ATP is now released into the matrix of mitochondria. So, here in this open space area, yun yung matrix. Okay, so, ulitin natin step. First, yung hexameric ring. Yung may alpha and may beta. Yung may alpha and may beta units, if naalala nyo. It binds, what it do in the first step, it binds the ATP orthophosphate. So, ulitin natin again, what are the steps? So, una yung hexameric ring, yung may alpha and may beta units, if naalala nyo. It binds the ADP to orthophosphate. So, following that, the next step, mapaform yung ATP, di ba, pag nagbind sila. From that point, pag nagbind yung ADP and yung orthophosphate. Tapos, sa third step, marirelease na yung ATP na na-form by combining or by the reaction of ADP and the orthophosphate. Now, let's go back to the cross-section of the F1 region of the hexameric ring. Naalala nyo yung, kanina, yung electric pan. Electric pan to. Oh, shit. Yan, naalala nyo yung electric pan yan. So, yun yung ginamit nating analogy, di ba? Ngayon, as you can see, it is composed of 3 beta units and 3 alpha units, which is, the alpha is shown in red color and the beta is shown in yellow color. So, this is actually their structure. Ano ba to? Tawag dito? Tertiary ba to? So, if you remember, in the hexameric ring structure, alpha units are not involved in catalysis process. However, it can bind the ATP and they have ATP molecules bound to them. Now, alpha units will not release ATP nor carry out any useful process or reaction. So, laging tatandaan nyo na the alpha unit doesn't really do anything na useful. Kasi, ang pinakamaraming may trabaho, ang pinaka-important yung mga ginagawa is the beta units. They are the units which play the catalytic role. They have the ability to undergo 3 reactions or 3 steps, which is the formation of ATP that we will talk about in a bit. Ay, yun na pala yun. So, susunod na pala siya, no? So, again, the beta units are the catalytic structure and they can undergo 3 different reaction or undergo 3 different states. So, the beta units can exist in one of the 3 different states. What do we mean by this? So, parang yung beta units is, meron siyang different states. Tapos, pwede siyang mag-exist sa kahit anong states na yon. So, parang yung parang tubig, ganun. Water. Di ba pag yung tubig, pwede siyang mag-exist sa 3 states, which is the solid, yellow, liquid tsaka gas pag nag-evaporate. So, parang ganun lang yun. Pero hindi naman yung, hindi naman yung beta units is nagiging solid, hindi nagiging liquid, nagiging gas, hindi ganun yun. No? Ano lang, ginamit lang natin siya as comparison. So, baka malito kayo doon. So, ano nga ba tong mga states na to? No? So, ano ba to? United State or beep state? So, hindi natin alam. No? Ngayon, pag-usapan na natin kung ano yung three different state na yan, which is the tense or simply the T state, the loose state or simply the L state, and the open state or simply the O state. So, yun yung tatlong state na pwedeng maging yung beta units. The L state, T state, and O state. So, as you can see here, the flower-like structure in the PowerPoint. So, the presentation is very cutesy. Credits din pala sa YouTube channel which gumawa nitong ng diagram na to. So, the YouTube channel's name is Andre K. So, sa kanya naka-base yung pinaka-report ko na to. Everything na lahat ng pinagsasabi ko dito, sa kanya ko talaga nakuha kasi napaka-comprehensive niya mag-report. So, I suggest na kung sakali mang hindi ko man i-report to na maayos, hindi nyo man maintindihan, I suggest na panoorin nyo si Andre K. And ilalagay ko lahat ng link na ginamit ko sa dulo nitong PowerPoint. Sa dulo ng PowerPoint. Or kaya pasin nyo na lang sa akin, mag-send kayo ng PM. So, balik tayo dito sa bulaklak na to. No? So, itong bulaklak na to, cross-section siya ng ring structure na kanina ko pa mini-mention. Itong kabutil-like enzyme na to, this is the ATP synthase, right? This is, ngayon, if we cut this section, the F1 region, if we, tapos sinilip natin sa taas, no? So, hinati natin, sinilip natin sa taas, yun yung cross-section. So, makikita natin, ito yung hexameric ring structure. So, makikita mo dito yung tatlong alpha, yung tatlong beta. Ayan, yung may labels na yan, yung open, loose, and tense na yan. Ngayon, yung beta units, so, yun yung may open, loose, and tense. Beta units lang yung pwede mag-undergo dun sa tatlong state na yan, no? So, alahanin yun. So, hindi pwede, and hindi mangyayari na they will exist in similar state. Yung mga beta units na yun, hindi pwedeng sabay silang open state, loose state, yun. So, lagi yun, every time, magkakaiba sila. Yung isa dapat open state, yung isa dapat loose state, yung isa dapat tense state. Now, pag-usapan na natin kung ano ba yung mga pinagsasabi kong state na to kasi mahirap siyang intindihin kung panay ganun lang ako. So, now let's talk about first, let's talk about the loose state. In this state, the ADP and orthophosphate, so nasa loob, nakabind na siya dun sa beta units. Makikita mo dito yan yung ADP plus pi na yan. So, nakabound na siya, pero nakabind na siya, nakabound na siya, pero hindi pa sa isa't isa. Nakabind sila sa beta units. So, bakit dun sa beta units, bakit hindi pa sa isa't isa? Because they are not close enough to actually do a reaction, so actually bind into 4-ATP synthase. Hindi pa sila magkalapit na magkalapit. So parang ito yung term na malapit na pero malayo pa. So siguro dito nanggaling yun, no? So next we have the second state, the T state. Now in the T state, the 10th state, the structure is constrained. So when we say constrained, parang lumiit, kaya naman Schirmer curve, ganun. So because of this, yung kanina magkala yung ADP and the orthophosphate, nagkadikit na finally, no? So parang teleserye pala to. Because kanina, di ba magkalayo sila sa loose state? Hindi pa sila nagbabind together. Ngayon, nag-constrain yung beta units. They now are brought closer together. Hence, pwede na ma-synthesize yung ATP molecules. Now, dahil doon, ayun, nag-bind na sila together na produce na yung ATP. Ngayon, let's talk about the last state, which is the open state or simply O state. So, yung na-form na ATP molecule will be then released from the beta subunit, yung part ng hexameric ring structure, to the matrix of the mitochondria. So, in addition, the beta subunit can only bind the ADP and the orthophosphate reactants if it is in the O state. So, to put it simple, marirelease lang yung ATP formed by the reactions of ADP and orthophosphate pagka yung beta subunit is nasa open state. And in addition to that, makakapag-bind lang yung beta units ng ADP and orthophosphate sa kanya pag nasa open state siya. So ayun lang naman yun. So, I hope you understand. But, of course, let's have a quick summary ulit. So, in the loose state, the ADP and orthophosphate are bound into the beta units, but they are not close enough to synthesize any ATP molecules. Nakabind lang sila sa beta units, but they are far from each other, kaya hindi pa nasisynthesize yung ATP molecule. Ngayon, sa 10th state, the structure is constrained. Yun nga yung parang sumikip. Kaya nabobot together, naglalapit yung ADP and yung orthophosphate. Pag nagsama sila, ang mangyayari is, yung kanina pa natin pinauulit-ulit, masisynthesize na yung ATP molecule. And sa open state naman, dun palang marirelease yung na-form na ATP molecule. Tapos, sa open state din, dun lang pwedeng mag-bind yung beta units ng ADP and orthophosphate sa kanya. Now, paano natin malalaman kung a certain beta units, diba tatlo yun? Paano natin malalaman kung anong state siya? Nasaan ba siya? Nasa open state ba siya? Nasa loose state or open state? So, if you remember, may specific part yung ATP synthase na degrorotate. Dalawa yan, di ba? The C ring and the central stalk. Pero ngayon magpo-focus muna tayo sa central stalk. So, also, if you remember din, the central stalk goes through the hexameric ring structure. So, yung nakikita nyong red na yan, yan yung central stalk. So, kanina, diba? Gagamitin ulit natin to. Diba, ito yung hexameric ring structure cross-section. Pag tinignan siya sa taas, if you remember and if you understand. Itong mga to, this is the beta units. Tapos dito ko na naman alpha units kasi nga alternate sila. Ngayon yung gitna na to, yan yung central stalk. So, as you can see, it goes through the hexameric ring structure. Okay, so ngayon, kung naaalala ulit, yung central stalk na to, that is composed of gamma and the epsilon, it rotates, di ba? Now, the rotation of this central stalk, it changes. It causes the change in the state of beta unit. So, parang ito yung nagdedetermine kung anong state ba yung specific beta units. Tapos, ito rin yung nagkakos kung magbabago ba yung state ng isang beta unit. So, let's look at this diagram, no? Shaded na yung alpha units kasi hindi naman na sila talaga nagpa-participate sa process na to, di ba? If you remember, parang wala lang siyang ginagawa. Lahat ng work nasa beta units. So, anyways, you can see here in the first diagram, the beta unit in the bottom is in 10 state. Remember, pag nasa 10 state na, yung ATP, ADP, and the orthophosphate they are brought close enough para ma-form yung ATP. So, you can see it here more closely dito. So, nasa 10 state, yung nasa baba, then yung nasa taas, right side dito gawin. Nasa loose state, kung saan nakabind na yung ADP and orthophosphate sa beta units, pero hindi sila close together para mag-react, or malayo pa sila para mag-react sa each other to form ATP. Tapos yung nandito naman, upper left corner, pansin nyo rin yung parang arrow or pointer ng central stalk kung saan siya nakaturo, yun yung naka-10 state. I don't know if this applied sa lahat, pero nung pinanood ko si BJ yung sabi, so yung nakaturo, yung pointer na yun yung nagde-determine kung ano yung 10 state. Tapos, syempre, yung sa kabila naman nun, loose state, tapos susunod naman ay open state. Now, if the central stalk, di ba naalala nyo, it rotates. So, let's say, it rotates 120 degrees counterclockwise direction. The states of the beta, yung tatlong beta na yun, lahat yun magbabago. The bottom subunit will no longer be in 10 state. Yung nasa baba, hindi na siya magiging 10 state. It will now be in the open state. And the ATP will be released kasi nga, nasa open state na siya. Here in the diagram, yung kaninang nasa baba, dating 10 state, ngayon nasa nasa open state na siya and empty na rin. Kasi nga, pag nasa open state na, marirelease na yung ATP molecule. So, ngayon yung kaninang loose state sa upper right, so, nandito siya kanina, di ba? Loose state yun. Ngayon, na siya, naging 10 state na. Kaya na-form na yung ATP. Kasi nga, nung napunta na siya sa 10 state, na-constrict, tapos na-synthesize na yung ATP galing sa ADP and orthophosphate. Tapos yung open state kanina, nasa loose state na. Ngayon, dahil na-release dun sa, di ba, nag-rotate 120 degrees direction, ay counterclockwise direction yung central stalk, na iba yung state. Ngayon, ang nangyari, nung iba state, nagkaroon yung isang beta units naging open. Ano nangyari pagka naging open? Na pwede na ma-release yung ATP molecule na na-form. Ngayon, dahil doon, nagkaroon ng empty beta subunit. So, ito yung nasa open state kanina because, yun nga po, ulit naman, pag nasa open state, ma-release yung ATP na na-form. Pero pag nasa open state din, sabi kanina, the beta subunit can only bind the ADP and the orthophosphate reactants if it is in the open state. Ibig sabihin, yung beta subunits na nasa open state, pwede na ulit siyang mag-bind ng ADP and orthophosphate sa sarili niya. Tapos pag na-bind, parang after nun, magro-rotate ulit. Yung na-bind mula nung, di ba, yung open state, pwede na siyang mag-bind kasi empty na siya. Pwede na siyang mag-bind ng ADP, pwede na siyang mag-bind ng orthophosphate. Ngayon, magro-rotate ulit yun. Pag nag-rotate yun, yung open state magiging loose state na. Kasi, nakabind sa beta subunits, pero they are still far from each other, kaya hindi pa nagre-react. Ngayon, iikot ulit yung central stock. Ngayon, yung nasa loose state na yun, kaninang nasa open state, magiging tense state na. Magiging tense state na siya. Kaya yung ADP, tsaka yung orthophosphate, magre-react na sila sa isa't isa. Tapos, magpo-form na yung ATP molecule. So, basically, ganun yun. Pagkatapos nun, of course, after 10 state, ano mangyayari? Pupunta na sila sa open state. And then, pag napunta sa open state, marirelease yung ATP molecules. Tapos, magbabind ulit ng panibagong ADP and orthophosphate. Pawala na ako ng boses. Hindi pa tapos. So, pawala na ako ng boses. So, ayun, marirelease yung ATP. And then, magbabind ulit ng bagong ADP and orthophosphate, repeating the process. So, ito nasabi ko naman na kanina, the beta subunits will never exist in the same identical state. Ibig sabihin, kahit anong mangyari, yung tatlong beta units, magkakaiba sila ng states palagi. So, ngayon, naintindihan na natin yung dividing change mechanism. So, we understand how ATP synthase is actually produced. What are the three different states yun? Naintindihan na rin natin yan. I hope we do understand that. And then, after this, we will talk about the F-NOT region naman and the searing structure. Ano ba yung function niya? Bakit ba siya umiikot? And etc. So, I'll see you to the next topic. Okay, so now that we know the structure and function of ATP synthase and as well as the mechanism on how it is synthesized, let's move on to the next topic, which is the using proton gradient. So, in this topic, there are two questions which we will answer as we discuss. So, the first is, how does the movement of protons across the ATP synthase helps in generating ATP molecules? And second, how many hydrogen ions or protons have to move through ATP synthase to generate a single ATP molecule? So, as we go along to this lecture, we will eventually answer those two questions. So, if you notice from previous discussion, we talked about the hexameric ring structure and as well as the central stock. Basically, those two play a crucial role in generating ATP. So now we'll talk about the remaining region, which specifically is the F-NOT region. From here, we will understand what causes the rotation of the C-ring na nasa F-NOT region as well as the central stock since they are connected. So before that, let's have a quick review before we proceed. So the F-NOT region consists of two types of polypeptide subunits as we discussed from the previous chapter, the C subunit and A subunit. The F-NOT region has 10 to 14 C subunits which aggregate or which binds together to form the C-ring, and yung green polypeptide here, yan yung C-ring. So as you can see, it is composed of different C subunits, parang nagdikit-dikit na C subunits to form that C-ring structure. So this C-ring actually causes the rotation of central stock. Yun yung dahilan kung bakit umiikot yung central stock, dahil nga kakatugtong din naman sila, resulting to the binding change mechanism process. So basically, yung pag-ikot ng central stock which causes the binding change mechanism has something to do with the C-ring. Kasi nga, di ba, connected talaga yung central stock to the C-ring. So the F-NOT region also has a single A subunit. As you can see here, this purple thing na nakadikit sa C structure, that's the A subunit. So, pansin din na sa isang unit lang to. Unlike C-ring na marami, which is 10 to 14 actually. So, again, the A subunit is isa lang, while the C-ring is marami, 10 to 14. Another thing to remember is the position of the F-NOT region. If you remember, the F-NOT region lies within the intermembrane of the mitochondria. So, this is the intermembrane of the mitochondria. Now, makikita nyo dyan na may dalawang, sabihin na natin parang region or parang division, which is the intermembrane of the matrix, which is the intermembrane and the matrix. So mahalaga rin to, later maintindihan natin kung bakit. But for now, discuss muna natin yung structure ng FNAT region. Starting with the A subunit. The A subunit consists of two hydrophilic half channels that do not span the intermembrane. Meaning, parang kalakalahati lang, no? Hindi siya yung membrane. Hindi siya buong ganun, half lang. Kaya sinabing, hindi siya nag-i-span ng intermembrane. So, yung parang white cylindrical shape na to, ito yung tinatawag na hydrophilic channels. And when we say hydrophilic, it's the opposite of hydrophobic, which means it is water-loving, since hydrophobic is water-fearing. So, one of the half channel is open to the matrix. Ito yung baba na to. While the other is open to the intermembrane. So, of course, yung nasa upper right, that's the one open to the intermembrane, while the one at the lower left is the one open to the matrix or to the matrix of the mitochondria. These two channels are essential because they allow the movement of protons from the intermembrane space to the matrix. So, from taas na yun to the matrix. So, yun, importante itong channels na to. Ina-allow niya yung movement of protons from intermembrane to the matrix of the mitochondria. Next structure is the C subunit. The inside of C subunit contains aspartate 61 residue. This is also important and displays a major role in the rotation action of the C ring. So this aspartate 61 residue contains a negative charge that can grab a proton under acidic condition. Now, if you remember, the intermembrane space has high concentration, which means it is proton rich. When we say proton rich, maraming proton dito. It has abundant number of proton. While the matrix is low concentration, mean it is proton poor. So, kung sa intermembrane marami, sa matrix naman konti lang. Okay, so that's the breakdown of the structure. Now, let's talk about what they actually do or what is the proton movement. Basically, kasi pag-uusapan natin kung bakit nagro-rotate tong ATP synthase. What's the reason behind the rotation movement? Naalala nyo yung video yung pinanood ko sa inyo kanina? Yun, pag-aaralan natin bakit umiikot siya ng ganun. So first step is the hydrophilic channel is yung hydrophilic channel is open to the intermembrane of the mitochondria. So this channel from the A subunit, open siya or bukas siya sa taas sa intermembrane, which is the proton-rich environment if you remember. Ngayon, sa gitna ng half channel, nagre-reside yung aspartate residue as you can see here in the PPT. So, parang connected din siya sa C-ring. So, now, C-ring tuloy, so C subunit. So, now, yung proton from the intermembrane, from the high concentration, from the proton-rich environment, will move to the half channel. So, parang papasok sa siyang ganun, kung saan nagre-reside si aspartate 61 residue. Tapos, pagpasok ng proton doon, magbabind yung proton sa aspartate 61 residue. Ngayon, pagpasok niya, pag nag-bind yung proton from the highest concentration from the intermembrane, mapo-form ngayon yung aspartic acid pag nag-bind siya sa aspartate 61 residue. So, ulitin natin na. From the A proton will enter the half channel which is open to the intermembrane matrix. So, manggagaling yung proton na yun sa intermembrane. Intermembrane na pala, wala matrix. Manggagaling yung proton na yun sa intermembrane sa taas sa proton-rich environment. Ngayon, pag papasok siya doon, mamimit niya yung aspartate 61 residue. Ngayon, magbabind silang dalawa. Pag nagbind silang dalawa, mapo-form is aspartic acid. Ano ngayon yung papel nitong aspartic acid? So, may short description tayo sa aspartic acid and later on, ma-discuss natin ano yung papel niya. So, aspartic acid is hydrophobic. And since ang aspartic acid ay hydrophobic, ibig sabihin water-fearing, no? So, it will want to move into the hydrophobic region of the inner membrane of the mitochondria. This hydrophobic region of the inner membrane is like a place where water is not allowed. Kaya gusto ng aspartic acid na mag-move doon sa lugar na yon. So, or sa region na yan. So, basically, aspartic acid is hydrophobic, tapos may region sa intermembrane na hydrophobic din, meaning walang water doon. Kaya yung aspartic acid, gustong pumunta ron sa region na yon. Okay, ulitin natin from the top. The FNAT region is composed of two units, the serine and the A structure, ay A subunits. Yung A subunits, meron siyang parang cylindrical shape na tinatawag na half channel. So, yung isang half channel, open siya sa matrix, sa intermembrane, while yung isang channel yung nasa baba, open siya sa matrix ng mitochondria. Ngayon, yung intermembrane, yung taas, it is protein rich. Maraming proton doon. This abundant, there are a lot of protons in the intermembrane of the mitochondria. Ngayon, yung yung cylindrical shape, yung half channel, sa loob nun, merong aspartate 61 residue. Now, yung proton, papasok dun sa half channel na yun, yung bukas sa intermembrane doon, papasok doon, tapos magbabind or magre-react with aspartate 61 residue. Now, this aspartate 61 residue is nasa loob siya ng serine. Nasabi ko yata kanina, nasa loob siya ng cylindrical ng A structure, so mali ako doon. Na doon talaga siya sa serine. Doon magbabind yung proton. Tapos, pag nagbind siya, ma-form yung aspartic acid. Ngayon, dahil nagbind siya doon, nasa loob ng serine, ng C structure, yung na-form na aspartic acid. So, ayun, sana naintindihan natin na sa loob ng C structure, doon pumunta yung proton, kaya na-form yung aspartic acid. Ngayon, yung aspartic acid na na-form na to, it is hydrophobic. And there is a region in the intermembrane of the mitochondria which is also hydrophobic. Ibig sabihin, walang tubig doon. Water is not allowed in that particular region or in the intermembrane, in the region sa intermembrane. Ngayon, dahil hydrophobic din doon si aspartic acid, it tends to move from the serine structure into the intermembrane. Ngayon, yun nga, sabi ko ngayon, aspartic acid, which is inside the C subunit, it tends to move papunta dun sa region, sa hydrophobic region ng intermembrane ng mitochondria dahil gusto nga niya mag-move doon kasi walang tubig. Ngayon, dahil sa gusto na to, because of the movement of the aspartic acid, it actually makes the serine structure rotates dahil sa pagpupumilit niya na pumunta sa hydrophobic region ng intermembrane. Dahil sa movement niya na, the movement of aspartic acid towards papunta sa hydrophobic region sa intermembrane ng mitochondria, the serine structures tends to rotate. Di ba? Ang serine ay composed ng maraming C subunit. Ibig sabihin, mas maraming aspartic acid ang gustong pumunta sa hydrophobic region, kaya mas maraming force, mas umikot yung buong serine structure. Ngayon, ang naman doon, pag umikot yung serine structure, eventually, yung isang aspartic acid, papasok siya sa isang half channel ng A subunit na open naman sa matrix. If naalala nyo, yung matrix ay pure proton environment. Dahil pure proton environment, itong matrix, yung nasa baba na to, yung open space, yung proton from the aspartic acid is magdi-dissociate. Hihiwalay na. Pag napunta na siya dun sa baba na yun, sa half channel na open sa matrix. So, ayun, bababa siya, pupunta sa matrix. Bababa siya dun sa pure proton environment. Ngayon, pag bumaba siya, pag nahiwalay na yung proton, magiging negative na ulit sa aspartic acid, o kaya naman, magiging, na lang ulit siya, aspartate 61 residue. Ngayon, naman siya, pupunta na naman dun sa half channel, makaka-attract na naman siya ng proton from the intermembrane. Tapos, pag naka-attract ulit siya ng proton from the intermembrane, from the proton-rich environment, ang mangyayari naman, magiging aspartic acid ulit siya. Kaya, pag naging aspartic acid ulit siya, magiging hydrophobic ulit, and it will tend again to move to the hydrophobic region of the intermembrane of the mitochondria. However, dahil sa paggalaw niya na yun, iikot yung serine structure, and eventually, mapupunta na siya sa half channel na open sa matrix, which is open, which the matrix naman niya yun is, ulitin ko, yung pure proton environment. Ang mangyayari, pag napunta siya doon, magdi-dissociate na naman ulit yung proton from the aspartic acid. Tapos, yung aspartic acid, magiging aspartate 61 residue na siya ulit. Kaya, mauulit lang yung process. So, this rotation, this process, yung re-react ng aspartate sa proton, yung pag-form ng aspartic ba tama ba? aspartic acid, it causes the rotation of the C-ring. Ngayon, if naalala nyo rin, pag nag-rotate yung C-ring, mag-rotate din yung central stalk. And pag nag-rotate yung central stalk, it causes the synthesization or the catalyzation of ATP molecules. So, ayun yun, no? As you can see, very interconnected lahat ng pangyayari, no? So, dahil, can we have a quick summary sa mga nangyayari? So, ayun nga, siguro hindi natin kaya. But let's try to have a quick summary. ATP synthase, ginagamit niya yung proton electrochemical gradient na na-form ng complexes 1 to 4 para mag-produce ng actual ATP na ginagamit ng cell for energy. Ngayon, itong ATP synthase na to is divided into two parts or two region, the F1 region and the F0 region. The F1 region, it consists of nandun yung catalytic unit, which is the hexameric ring structure, and as well as nandun din yung central stalk. Let's talk about the hexameric ring structure. The hexameric ring structure is composed of two units, the alpha units and beta units. Tig-tatlo sila. Together, they form that hexameric ring structure, which is responsible for the synthesization of ATP molecules. However, even though pwedeng mag-bind yung alpha units, only the beta units yung gumagawa mostly, or I think 100% naman, the beta units, sila lang yung gumagawa, or sila lang yung pinakamerong important role sa pagsisynthesize ng ATP. Ngayon, we also have the central stalk. So, the central stalk runs to the hexameric ring structure to the C-ring structure. So, it connects the hexameric ring to the C-ring structure. Ngayon, yung central stalk na to, pag nag-rotate, siya yung nagko-cause ng change sa hexameric, sa state ng beta units. Ngayon, yung beta units na to, pag nabago yung state nila, pag nag-rotate tong central stalk na to, magkakaroon ng change sa state ng beta units. Remember, may tatlong state yung beta units, which is open, loose, and tense. Pag nabago yung state ng isang beta units, obligadong merong ma-form na ATP kasi merong isang mapupunta sa open state. Ngayon, nagro-rotate tong central stalk na to dahil sa C-ring structure. So, ano na ulit nangyayari sa C-ring structure? Sa C-ring structure kasi, or the F0 region na pala, merong dalawang units, which is the C-ring nga, which is composed of 10 to 14 C subunits, and as well as the A structure yata yun. So, yung A structure, meron siyang dalawang half channel na hindi siya nag-i-span ng isang buong structure. So, half lang. So, itong half channel na to, yung isa doon, it is open to the intermembrane of the mitochondria, which is that intermembrane, it has high concentration, it is rich in proton. Tapos, yung matrix naman, low concentration to, and it is poor in terms of protons. Ngayon, yung half channel na to, dito pumapasok yung dito pumapasok yung proton. Ngayon, saan ito pupunta? Pupunta siya sa C subunits. Kasi yung C subunits, may kino-contain naman siyang aspartate 61 residue. Tama. May kino-contain naman siyang aspartate 61 residue, which attracts the proton. Ngayon, yung proton, pag pumasok siya doon, pag nag-bind siya together with the aspartate 61 residue, mapo-form yung, anong tawag doon? Wait lang aspartic acid ba? Aspartic acid pala. So, ayun, mapo-form naman yung aspartic acid pagka nag-bind yung aspartate tsaka yung proton. Ngayon, yung na-form na to, yung aspartic acid na to, it's hydrophilic ba? Hydrophilic. When we say hydrophilic, it's hydrophobic. Ulitin natin. So, ang po-form dito is yung aspartic acid, which is hydrophobic. When we say hydrophobic, it is water-fearing molecules. Ngayon, dahil hydrophobic to, it tends to move to places where there is no water, or gusto niyang pumunta sa mga lugar na walang tubig. Now, in the intermembrane of the mitochondria, merong specific region doon, which is hydrophobic. Ngayon, yung aspartic acid na nasa loob ng C subunits, it tends to move papunta doon sa hydrophobic region na yun. Kaya, ang nangyayari, parang it causes na mag-rotate yung C-ring structure. So, overall, pagka nag-rotate tong C-ring structure na to, mag-rotate din yung gamma epsilon central stalk. And pag nag-rotate tong gamma epsilon central stalk, mag-change yung state ng isang ATP, ay ng isang beta units, kaya mapo-form ang ATP molecule. So, yun yung pinaka-summarized version. Okay, so now that we understand this part, we answered this particular question. Let's try to answer the another one. So, naalala nyo kanina sa binding change mechanism, diba isang rotation, isang 120 degrees rotation ng central stalk, isang ATP molecule yung napoproduce. Kasi pag nag-move yung central stalk, magiging open state yung isang 10 state, kaya masisynthesize and marirelease yung ATP from ATP and orthophosphate. Ibig sabihin, tatlong galaw or complete 360 degrees rotation ng central stalk, tatlong ATP yung poproduce. Kasi nga, di ba, 120 degrees lang, nakaproduce na ng isa. So from that, we can formulate a calculation to measure how many hydrogen ions or protons are needed to produce a single ATP. Here on the left side, we have the 360 degree rotation of the central stalk, and again, 360 rotation is equals to 3 ATP, hence kaya yung 3 yung nakalagay sa baba. Now on the right side, we have the 10 to 40 C subunit. If naalala nyo, the C-ring is composed of 10 to 14 C subunits, so it ranges mula 10 hanggang 14. Ibig sabihin, ang range rin ng proton na pwedeng pumasok dito, kasi nga pwedeng di ba pumasok sa C subunit yung proton, is nasa 10 to 14 din. Kaya, di ba naalala nyo nga, yung proton from intermembrane from high concentration, pumapasok dito sa subunit para mag-bind sa aspartate 61 residue. Eh di ba nga, yung nasa 10 to 14, yung subunit, di ba nga, yung, di ba nga, 10 to 14 yung nasa di ba nga nasa 10 to 14 yung C subunit, kaya ang pwedeng pumasok na proton doon is nasa 10 to 14 din. So yun lang yun. Tapos under ulit nun is yung 360 degrees rotation. So if we compute this, ito yung final answer niya, 3.33 to 4.67 protons per ATP. So basically nasa 3.33 or hanggang 4.67 ang dapat na mag-move na proton sa ATP synthase para makaproduce ng single ATP molecule. So ayun, makikita nyo naman dito sa calculation yan. So again, 3.3 or 4.67 ang kailangan pumasok na proton sa C-ring para makaproduce ng single ATP molecule. So ayun. So natapos na tayo sa ATP synthase, but we will talk about another different topic. So, I'll see you again onto the next topic. Okay, so now, after the three topics, we understand the ATP structure, the function of the ATP, what does it do? So, it synthesizes or catalyzes ATP from ADP and orthophosphate. We also understand how this works, kung paano ba yung binding change mechanism, kung paano siya nag-occur, and kung paano nagpapalit ng state yung beta units para makaproduce ng single ATP molecule. We also understand how the proton moves through the ATP synthase to make the C-ring rotates para makapag-produce ng ATP synthase. So now, let us proceed to the following topic. So we're finally done with the ATP synthase, and surprisingly, biglang bagong topic yung naka-include sa module, which is the peroxisome. Okay, peroxisome. So, personally, nalilito rin ako kung bakit biglang nag-jump from ATP synthase tapos peroxisome yung module. Hindi naman to part ng ATP synthase, okay, kahit naman mitochondria, but still included siya sa chapter 5, although nasabi naman na may ilang similarities tong peroxisome sa mitochondria. So, peroxisomes are simple membrane-bound vesicles that may contain a dense crystallized core of oxidative enzyme. We say may, kasi hindi natin masasabi na every peroxisome contains core. Yung iba wala talaga. So, it depends on the type of the cell and sa protein sa loob. But anyways, kahit wala pa siyang core, nagagawa pa rin naman ng peroxisome yung function niya, which is breaking down of harmful substances in the cell such as the hydrogen peroxide to keep the cell clean. So peroxisomes are multifunctional organelles, and it contains more than 50 enzymes that are involved in different activities like oxidation of very long chain of fatty acid. This means that peroxisome helps break down this very long chain of fatty acids into smaller ones. So this is important because it turns the fatty acids into a form which cells can use to generate energy. So peroxisome also synthesizes plasmalogens, and abnormalities pag nagkakaroon ng abnormalities pag nagkakaroon ng problema sa pagpo-produce nitong plasmalogens so ang mangyayari is it can lead to severe neurological function. Next we have is the luciferase. So do you have any idea what is luciferase? It's a type of enzyme which generate lights, so emitted by specifically fireflies. Ito pala yung dahilan kung bakit lumiliwanag sila. So this luciferase is actually a peroxisome. So why are peroxisome considered in this chapter? So sabi ko kanina may mga ilang pagkakahawig sila ng mitochondria. So first, they are both formed from splitting of pre-existing organelles. So they are also both perform proteins from cytosol, and lastly, they both engage in similar types of oxidative metabolism. So why it is called peroxisome? So it is called peroxisome because they are the site of degradation and synthesis. So what is hydrogen peroxide? It is a highly reactive oxidizing agent. In addition to that, peroxisome is also present sa plants. So take for example the glycosamine. So this glycosamine is inside the plant siblings or sa buto. So anyways, this will be later on discussed. So nakalagay kanina doon sa module na madi-discuss to ng chapter 6. So hindi ko na siya hindi ko na siya i-elaborate. So for the last part of our reporting, we will talk about the diseases that results from the abnormal mitochondria or peroxisomal function. So this is the summarized points from the chapter 5.11, the human perspective. First, let's talk about the mitochondria study. Sabi lang dito, may mga scientists, they took a mitochondria from a tired woman who kept on working working hard kahit pa pagod na siya. So isang very hardworking woman, and kahit gano'n siya kapagod, yung trabaho niya is nag-work pa rin siya ng hard. So naano nila dito from the sample of the mitochondria from that woman, napansin nila na mitochondria can sometimes be faulty because they notice na yung mitochondria from the tired hardworking lady is faulty, wherein instead na energy yung napoproduce is heat. So yung mga problema sa mitochondria, another point na to, is can actually lead to serious diseases affecting the muscles and brains with symptoms varying from mild to severe. Another point is that mitochondrial diseases are passed from mother to their children, whether it is daughter or son. Another is that yung mga mutations sa mitochondria is depende or sa iba-ibang parts ng body. So another point, the mitochondrial DNA gets more damage than the regular DNA. Ngayon, yung mga damages na to, it can lead to diseases such as Parkinson. This last point, ang sabi lang, yung mga mutations sa mitochondrial DNA, pero sa animal pa lang naman to known sa mutation sa human, hindi pa to clear. So ang sabi, yung mga damage sa DNA ng mitochondria can speed up aging. Now let's talk about the diseases associated with the peroxisome. So first is the Zellweger syndrome. So it is an inherited disease characterized by a variety of neurological, visual, and liver abnormalities leading to death during early infancy. Hindi na bubuhay na matagal yung mga nagkakaganito, less than a year pa lang is namamatay na sila. So Goldfisher and his colleagues, nireport nila base sa findings nila na yung mga patient na mayroong Zellweger, naglalak sila ng peroxisome sa renal tsaka liver cells. However, after some investigation, na-reveal na hindi pala totally wala. Pero nandun pa yung peroxisome, na-reveal na hindi totally wala dun sa liver. However, they are empty. So parang ghost lang sila doon. So bakit ba 'to nangyari? So yung enzyme na hindi nakarating sa peroxisome, kaya hindi niya na-fulfill yung function niya since nasa cytosol pa rin siya. Ngayon, another in context of peroxisome is the X-linked adrenoleukodystrophy. So it is characterized by absence of isang single lang na peroxisome enzyme. So yung mga lalaki nagkakagalan ng ganito, hindi pa naman sila affected until mid-childhood. So around 6 to 12. After that, pag nasa ganyang age na sila, pwede na nila ma-experience yung symptom which are the neurological dysfunction. So parang pag nagkaroon ka nito, naapektuhan na yung brain tsaka nerves sa body, and also magkakaroon din ng adrenal insufficiency. So this disease is a result of a defect ng isang membrane protein called ABCD1. So the ABCD1 function is to transport very long chain of fatty acids. So Pag wala to, sino mag-transport ng very long chain fatty acids? Di ba wala? Kaya ang nangyayari, nag-accumulate to sa brain, tapos sinisira niya yung myelin sheaths. So actually, that's the end of my report. Hanggang doon lang ang chapter 5. So thank you for listening. I know na yung iba sa nanonood kasi this is obligado na ngayon, no? So, pero I hope pa rin na nai-report ko tong report na to in face-to-face manner. Dahil, ewan ko, parang gustong-gusto ko talaga. Pero mula dun sa genetics, hindi na ako nakapag-report ng face-to-face. So, I hope na naintindihan nyo naman to. So, as I've said earlier, ilalagay ko dito yung links kung saan ko pinagkuhanan yung mga diniscuss ko. So, yung unang 3 chapters, yung sa ATP synthase, kuha ko talaga sa YouTube. Pero lahat ng natira, yung peroxisome, tsaka yung human perspective is galing na sa libro mismo. So, ayun lang. If you have any question, feel free to send a PM, a chat, kahit sa GC or sa direct na sa akin. So, ayun lang naman po. Thank you for watching and have a great day.